Yes, that is what you think it is. Alright, so when we last left off, we were talking about this fender over here. The fender was so bent that we couldn't get a good reading on whether the space of this hole right here was the right distance from this space on this hole, so that we didn't know where our upper radiator support needed to go in or out. And I don't think I showed it on camera, but there was a big gap between the fender and where this hole is right here. Like, you had to push it way down, and I think that all had to do with the fact that the front was hit and it twisted that fender like this, because we saw that hump that came out over here, so it was twisted. So I thought, well, I'll just order a new fender. So I went ahead and ordered another fender, and we'll put it on there and check, make sure that we get the right distance on our holes. And then I want to make sure that that hump that was right here, that space, is not there on a fender that has not been hit. Make sure that none of this stuff was actually bent down during the wreck. Okay, so the new fender sits down on here good enough. I mean, I don't think we have any kind of an issue with this piece right here. So it's all in that old fender, in the red fender. So, and look, when I get these holes lined up, or the holes lined up perfectly, that one is perfectly, and that one is. Alright, so now that I know that the upper radiator support is in the correct position to make all the holes line up, like you see there, I made a white line with a white paint marker. As I said, I'm going to do that over here, so that, because I got to unclamp these things, take all that back off, and then prepare this for welds, because you can't weld right through that primer. I don't think these are, some of these used to come with weld through primer on them, but I don't think this is. I might try to research that and find out, but if not, I'll have to sand that paint off and then spray some weld through primer on there before I weld those spot welds.
A few moments later.
Got all this stuff marked everywhere it goes, and I've also got a dot made on there everywhere that I need to punch a hole. So everywhere I need to have a spot weld, we'll put a dot. So what I'll do is we'll take all this off, and we'll go ahead and punch our holes before we start trying to get all those stickers off, so we don't get any of our dots sanded off while we're trying to get all the stickers off. And I always like it when we get to punch holes, because I get to use my grandpa's old hole punch. I talk about this every time, I know. Alright, so I've got these holes, these places marked. And there's all my spot weld holes. Now we'll try to get we'll do the other one, and we'll try to get the sticker off. I don't know why companies put stickers all over product they know it has to be painted, because it just adds like 2 more steps in the whole process. I gotta do this on both sides. I gotta wire brush all that off, and then prime it and paint it. You could put some kind of hanging tag or something on there. It seems like it'd be better.
12 seconds later.
Alright, so I've got all the stickers off. So now what I've got to do is, everywhere that there's going to be a piece of spot weld that's between, wherever there's a place between where I weld and other metal, I've got to sand off the paint so that I could put weld through primer on there, so that it'll still be protected. Because if we just do it like this, then this paint will burn off during the weld, and then it'll just be bare metal in there and it'll rust. I need holes in this upper radiator support too, in between these lines that I've got marked. So but my little hole puncher won't reach up that far, so I'm gonna have to drill those out there and those there, and then we'll sand that paint off, and then we'll everything that we need to put weld through primer on, we'll do that all at the same time. Also, these areas right here on the frame horns, I gotta weld those holes shut right there, and then grind those back down, and we'll weld through prime those too. Okay, all this stuff is ready to be primed, so I'm gonna clean it all up with some wax and grease remover, and then I'll spray it with the weld through primer. So the next step is to use this weld through primer. And yes, I have a mask on, so don't worry when I'm spraying. You're all wondering probably, where did I get this mask? Well, I found it laid out in the parking lot. Somebody had already used it, but they weren't using it anymore, so I grabbed it. Okay, so everything's got 2 coats, and weld through primer needs to dry really well before you start trying to weld on it. So if you can kind of see that little bit of a shine on there, that's still wet. So we'll wait till everything is really good and dry, and then we'll start by welding on those 2 brackets right there that go on there. And then we'll do the upper part on both sides of the radiator support.
2 hours later.
Everything's nice and dry, so let's get these brackets clamped on where they go, and I can barely see my white lines in there. Everything's marked, so let's get those clamped and start welding. Brackets are welded in, so now let's get the radiator support and try to get it fished around in there. If I remember right, last time that was hard getting it on those brackets and up inside that thing. Kind of had to beat around on it. Alright, so that was pretty much a pain getting that thing beat in there after you already have those brackets installed and welded in. But it does go, you just have to kind of force it. But alright, before I weld any of this stuff up here and here, I'm going to go get those fenders again and lay them up there and make sure all the holes line up one more time, just to be sure. I've got them clamped in to where the line was that we made before, so it should be right, but better safe than sorry. Alright, so I stuck the fenders on there real quick, just with 1 bolt, and as you can see, bolt holes line right up on this one. That one, there's a bolt in that one, and that one is good too. So this is ready to weld, so I'll get it set up and weld that top part in, and then we'll see if we need to adjust it down there where the brackets go. The top part is welded on. I still have quite a few more welds to do, like all those down there, and then the ones under the bracket on each side. And then once those are on, that is it. And then we'll see if our crash bar bolts up straight. And well, we might go ahead and paint the top part first so I can kind of get around underneath there and scuff it and all that before I get the crash bar in the way. Then I might stick the crash bar on there right at the end and spray it. This thing is now ready for paint, or ready to prepare for paint. And I want to kind of clean up these little areas here where I weld and ground down. This from here this way is all covered by the fender once it gets installed. So really I gotta worry about that ugly weld there and this one right here. So I'm gonna get a little body filler and just fill that in and smooth it up a little bit. And then we'll start scuffing this. Everything that's shiny black needs to be scuffed with a red scuff pad and then cleaned, and then it'll be ready to put plastic on the whole car, cover everything up, and spray that thing. Alright, so got all the areas on the Mustang that anywhere around on that radiator support that I welded or that I had bare metal showing. I went ahead and primed those areas. So that's ready for paint. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the Mustang with plastic, get it all taped up, and get ready to spray.
A few moments later.
Okay, I got the car nice and covered and taped up, and I sanded down the just scuffed up the primered areas. And so now I'm going to mix some paint and get some fans set up, open the door, try to get a draft going out of here, and spray this thing after I clean it. I'm going to clean it first. Alright, so I am ready to paint. Got everything covered up. Got the crash bar hung. And so I'm going to go ahead and get some red put in the spray gun. I'm going to open that door and get the fan set up. And so we're going to do a coat or two of red. And then on the last coat, we're going to mix it 70% color and 30% clear coat. I'm going to put a little bit of clear coat in there with it, and what that's supposed to do is give it that same really like light shine, like a, you don't want like a solid clear on there where it's just real super shiny. You just kind of want it just a little bit of a shine, like it looks like underneath the hood of a car that they do from the factory finish. So a good guy that I like to watch a lot, Dennis Condor, told me one time that they do that on the last coat underneath the hood, 70% color to 30% clear mixed together on the last coat. Alright, so everything is painted, and I want to see if you can see the difference here. I did not use the 30% clear in the last coat on this crash bar just because I know it's covered, you know, back up behind the bumper. Nobody will ever see it again. So can you tell the shine level? I don't know if you can see it good enough on this camera, but that's just regular old color. You know, there's no clear at all on it. And then over here, this has 30% clear mixed in the final coat of color. So that's the difference that little bit makes in there. You can tell how shiny that is. And really that might be a little too shiny. Pretty shiny. Usually underneath the hood there's a little bit of a sheen, but that looks almost like it's got a coat of clear on it. But next time I might do 80-20. But that's fine for this. So anyway, I'm glad that part's done. Next is to wait for it to dry all the way, and then get the plastic back off and start reassembly. Okay, so while we're waiting on that to cure, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting together the fan, condenser, radiator, transmission cooler, and all that stuff into one package. So I have to take that loose down there and let the fluid drain back out of that so I can mount it in that mess. So let's get that started. Got everything installed anyway, most of it. I don't have anything tightened up or anything like that. I'm missing a little grommet or bushing, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you need to go see it or not, but it goes in this hole right here at the bottom of the radiator peg. Fits in. That was lost during the wreck, so I've got one of those ordered. It should be here tomorrow, so I can't really tighten up all this top stuff because I got to lift that back up a couple inches to get that bushing in there. But I will go ahead and like install the reservoir and the power steering reservoir, hook up enough everything to where I can start it and get the antifreeze circulating, and we'll just go as far as we can go till I know it's going to cause problems getting the bushing in. If you don't have one of these tools that I'm getting ready to show you, you need one if you ever mess with radiator hoses. These new hose clamps that they make are kind of a pain. This lets you reach down in there and get to them. Yeah, this one will be easier to see. It's up at the top, so I'm gonna squeeze it together with my little tool and see how it just holds it. Wherever I want to let go of it, it holds it. I'm gonna push that hose all the way on and get this clamp where I want it. There it is. And I'll let it go. Okay, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Got everything hooked back up, plugged back in. There's a brace that goes from these right here over to this little stud there, which we'll put on after I get that little grommet put in the bottom tomorrow night. And then we'll put the crash bar back on, so I don't want that to be in my way when I crawl up underneath there. So let's put antifreeze in there and hopefully start it up.
12 seconds later.
Yes, that is what you think it is. We have a cracked plastic radiator. So it got cracked in shipping. Couldn't see it, so we put the fluid in it. So now we get to take all that back apart. While I'm letting that leak the rest of the way out, I said, I don't know if I told you guys this before or not. This is the second radiator that I've got in from the same company, and both were damaged. So this one, I couldn't see it was cracked in the plastic on the side. The other one had on the other side of the radiator. You can't really see it, but it was hit like right in here and dented in one of these little ribs here. So what I did is I went and got it, and I took the hose off of the other one, ran it up here, zip tied it up, filled it up with water, and I'm going to let it sit all night and see if it has any water leaking out of that damaged area. And if not, I guess I'm going to use it, because now I'd be waiting another week to get the other radiator in. So I don't like doing that, but only other way to do it. So I guess that's it. That's all we can do for tonight. Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of Rebuild It. We appreciate you watching us and giving us a thumbs up and subscribing. And hopefully next week we get this thing out of here, drivable, and where we can let it run for as long as we want, so it's easier to move around. And hopefully next episode might entail the interior swap on the Jeeps. That's what we're hoping for. So we'll see you next week.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. See you guys next week. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.